Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Antonio Davido, the host of the Armchair Athlete Sports Talk. With me this week, we got somewhat of a local legend here in the Yakima Valley, and it stems from grandfather, dad, all the way down to a next generation of athletes. We have here Pat Leahy, alum of Eisenhower High School, Notre Dame, drafted in the MLB and whatnot, and going forward. So, Pat, thank you for being a guest this week on the Armchair Athlete Sports Talk. How you doing today?
Hey, good. Thank you. You're entirely welcome.
Great. So, well, we'll get started. I know you're a busy guy here. So really, let's just jump into it. I mean, you have a great family legacy stemming all the way down from top to bottom. Give us a run through that. What's led to the success of your family at all levels, from being local to college to professionally? And then, of course, we'll talk about the Parker Youth Sports Foundation as well here at the end going forward. So that's to kind of just run us through that. What's led to success for the Leahy family of all levels, from football, baseball, national championships at Notre Dame? What's the success with that?
Really, I think a lot of it really goes back to my grandfather and just in his family, because he actually played football. He was recruited by Newt Rockne and went to Notre Dame, and then ended up getting hurt. And back then, in the late 1920s, if you blew out your knee, you were kind of done. And that's when he started coaching. But I think that competitive fire was always there, and it just parlayed one thing into another. He pretty much went on staff then with Newt Rockne, and then from there he was the head coach at Fordham, Boston College, and then ultimately Notre Dame. And we were actually talking about it the other week with my brother, cousin, and uncle Fred. And he was retired at Notre Dame by the time he was 45. They just parlayed that. So I think a lot of it really does go back to him. Then obviously my dad went and played football at Notre Dame, and then it came my turn. And because of my recruitment to Notre Dame is how they really kind of found my brother. And one thing led to another, and then you have my sister, and she was a high school All-American thrower at Eisenhower for Coach English. And so yeah, I mean, it just kind of, sports is always what we did. I don't want to ever say it was completely our 100% focus, because you really never know where you're going to end up when you're a kid relative to everybody else. But there we were.
And what was the message? Of course, success from the top working down, right? From grandfather to your father to you, your brother, your sister, and to my knowledge, as well as your children have also gone to the next levels, playing at the D1 level, going on to a fourth generation, to my understanding. What's the message always going forward from previous success to kind of keep that pushing for a member of the family pursuing academic as well as athletically moving forward past high school?
I think a lot of it is just the focus on getting better. And, and it's true in sports, what you do when no one's watching is way more important than what you do when people are watching. And so it's just doing a lot of little things and enjoying yourself while you're doing it. I mean, if you're doing something where it's always a grind and you don't like it, you're doing the wrong thing, type of thing. So you learn how to have fun when you're practicing. You learn how to challenge yourself when you're lifting and running, etc. Whether it's your own personal pushing with your teammates, etc. But you can't be in misery forever. And I truly do. And I know my brother and sister are all the same way. It's just, you really had fun doing it. Some of my favorite times in youth was playing for the Beatles. And people think we're crazy, but that summer of 1988, I believe we played 97 games in less than 60 days.
It's a lot of games.
But I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I miss it. It was just fun to go to the yard every day, go play. I mean, we were playing 12 games a week, maybe one day off, but we absolutely loved it.
Great. And pass that along. Is that something that with the sports go forward, was it something like your children were always interested in? Like, it was never like, you always hear the stories of like parents push it on to their kids to try to push to be into sports more and be focused on that. Was that ever a problem within the household, or is it always the interest in that, like, Dad, I want to play football, I want to play baseball, I want to run track?
And that's a good way of looking at it. For example, my son, he just didn't care for baseball. He preferred wrestling, track, and football. Good for him. That's totally fine. My daughter was volleyball, softball. She really liked playing softball. She didn't love playing softball. And if that's the case, then have fun in high school, but don't go play in college, because once you go to that next level, it's a life commitment in terms of your time that you can't get back. And if you don't love it, you're going to be miserable. So don't do it. Just enjoy it for what it was, and the memories you make, and enjoy the work that you do with your teammates day in, day out, week in, week out, and have fun with it.
I like that. That's a very good message for not only this conversation, but those listening and tuning in. Just sports can lead to more, of course, into the next horizon if you're ready to take that next step. But you're mentioning the Beatles, and of course, a friend of yours and a mutual friend of mine with you, Mike Bailey, was on as a guest a few weeks ago, and he was mentioning some stories too. And I got to before we jump into some other stuff, he mentioned a name. He wanted me to ask you. It was Brian Soren. There's a story you have of Brian Soren during a national championship in the '80s that he came through running with the Colorado helmet, I believe it was, and
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll give you the PG version.
okay, that works.
But he and so Brian was, he was always the wonderful spirit, wonderful personality, but he always used to like to give my dad a bad time, whoever Notre Dame was playing. And I think it was in 1990 when Notre Dame was playing Colorado, and it was the game where, like, there was a phantom clip called on a punt return, and it took back the win. It would have been, I believe, the winning touchdown. So he comes over to the house and he starts ribbing my dad about it. And my dad does not do well when Notre Dame loses, especially in a game like that. And literally, my dad chased him out of the house. I mean, Brian realized real quickly that my dad wasn't joking.
There's one thing you
But
don't play with. It's Notre Dame football in the Leahy household.
yeah, but like Brian would go and find all the, like, he'd joke with my dad. He'd find all the Notre Dame hats and gear in the house. He'd put it in the fireplace. I mean, he wouldn't light it on fire, but he would lay it on there like it was kindling.
Oh man,
My dad would just absolutely lose his mind.
the ultimate trolling even back then, right?
Yeah, he's like, Brian Saran, I'll kill you. I swear I'll kill you. He goes, I may not catch you, but I'll kill you if I do.
And did anyone in the household know that, or did it just kind of just happen? Like, did he let you know?
Oh,
Like,
no,
hey, Pat, I'm gonna do this.
our door was never locked. He just would open. He'd just go on in and do it and then leave. I mean, he lived 4 houses down, so it was no big deal at our house. But yeah,
Just
he
plug it
he
home
knew, he knew how
afterwards.
to get my dad's goat.
Oh man, that's funny. That's funny. With when you talk about also local talent, you play with some talent, of course. Mike here locally as well, being Beatles coach, as well as yourself, and as well as like Scott Hattenberg and the Stoudemire's coming through from Mapton up with local talent. And a lot of people here in the Valley think like, oh, I'm stuck in the Valley. There's no reach. There's no eyes on the Valley. Do you believe that to be true,
Not
especially in
at all.
today's day and age when it comes to recruitment or going to the next level when it comes to college
No,
as well as pro ball?
no, they'll find you. They will find you, absolutely. Um, no, I don't believe that to be the case at all, especially nowadays with film and things of that nature of what you can do. I mean, sometimes you may have to go over to the West Side for showcases here and there, but if you can play, they will find you.
Do you have any
And I mean that
insider
wholeheartedly.
knowledge for that? Like Mike would always say like X, what's formerly known as Twitter, is a good spot for like baseball. Is Huddle still good for football? Is there like certain things that you know about like where someone from the Valley be like, I'm gonna upload some game film of myself or some clips to see if I can get the attention of a coach.
Yeah, I mean, you do end up having to do that, with posting your huddle things, baseball with X, and some of it's just so people can get an early eye view if they want to go out and see you. A lot of times it's scouts. I mean, all the college coaches talk to scouts. Who are they? Who do they see? What's going on? Things like that. So I mean, it'll spread word of mouth. It does, I think, pay to have your own kind of page, if you want to call it that. The only thing I would recommend though is be careful of when you put it out there, because once it's put out there, it can't be taken back. So sometimes if you're a freshman, it might not be a good idea to start doing a huddle page, because that's going to be their first impression of what they see.
Gotcha. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Wait, so would you say more the varsity level or more like junior, senior year when really colleges can start reaching out and start throwing commitments or offer letters or, hey, we're interested. We'd love you to come on campus or we'd like to see more film. Would you say more of like the junior, senior level? at the grade level when it comes to high school for that to putting the clips out, or as soon as like a coach
Absolutely,
or someone reaches out?
not so much freshman year, maybe sophomore year, but absolutely by your junior year, just because that recruiting cycle it's come down more and more, um, in that regard. But if you're a senior in football, I mean, yeah, sometimes you have to go do that. Wait for your senior year or for people to get looks, things like that. But I do think we are overlooked for kids here in the Valley. I mean, all you have to do is look at, recent examples of like even Shane Lemieux, Cooper, up. I don't want to say Shane was completely overlooked, but Cooper was overlooked. Absolutely.
And another big name, Marjan Beauchamp, actually playing here at Yakima Valley College,
Yeah, he
and
did.
then going on to the next level through the G League. So, do you think, given with their recruiting style was a little different, Shane was sought after, of course, Oregon, South Carolina, from what I've heard from
Mhm.
inside that know Shane personally, but also with Coop. I mean, he had that family connection. Do you think that helped with that little push with his family being, his grandpa Jake playing with the Saints and dad Craig playing with the Cowboys? Do you think that helped with that recruitment process, or is more just colleges were just overlooking from the attributes he had like at that time?
I think he was just a late bloomer. I mean, you get right down to it, he was just a late bloomer relative to a normal kid going through the maturity phase. That's even talking with, even back when talking with, Rick Clark, the high school coach, and one of my good friends at the time was their O-line coach, and he was just a late bloomer. And then all of a sudden, it's like everything clicked, and boom, it was magic.
I went to a great college. I mean, it's hard not to go play on that red turf out in Cheney, right? When it comes to college football, definitely a recruiting tactic out there.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder how hot that red turf gets in August when they're practicing, like right now, getting ready for the season.
Well, my brother and I went to East Valley, and he had a pregame with Cheney High School, like an out of conference game. Back I want to say it was 24. He graduated 2015. He said it got pretty hot. He says it
It
attracted
gets
a lot
warm.
of heat because, of course, turf does in general, but that red turf just for some reason just brought more into it. And
Yeah,
so,
no, without a doubt.
and do you have any crazy recruitment stories from your time getting recruited from Notre Dame and other colleges for baseball?
Uh, probably not really, because it was straightforward. I did take 4 trips on my recruiting. You're allowed 5 at the time. So I took trips to Notre Dame, San Diego State, North Carolina, Stanford, but probably and all of them were wonderful. Everybody was very gracious, but probably my trip to North Carolina was probably the most memorable. And that was right in the middle of basketball season. So I had to miss like a day or two of practice. They actually flew me out of Yakima, and then I had to fly into the Tri-Cities to play a game that night against Kamiakin, or was it Kennewick? I'm sorry, it was Kennewick. But when I was there in North Carolina, I wanted to keep running and things like that. So I was playing basketball, just pick up with the students, because everybody, that's what you do in North Carolina. And evidently, one of the football coaches was watching down and just watching around. And then the next day, I got a call from the head baseball coach, um, Mike Robertson, who's like, whatever you were doing playing basketball, but the football team wants to offer you a scholarship too.
Did you play with that opportunity where you're like, oh, maybe should I do football? Should I do baseball? Was there ever that kind of like that?
You know, well, because I did get recruited out of high school for football as well. But the problem is I was a pitcher. And in football, where I was being recruited for was more in the box, tight end, O-line type thing. And so the lifting that you do when you're in the box is completely different than what you do for a pitcher.
Mhm.
Pitcher, it's more fine motor movements, stretching, light dumbbells, things like that. Whereas when you're playing in the pit, you're dealing more with big muscles, big mass, things like that, and they do not coincide with helping you become a pitcher because you lose extension.
Calories in,
So I had
calories
to
out,
make
a
a
lot of
choice.
lifting.
What's that?
Calories in, calories out, a lot of heavy lifting to get
Oh
ready
yeah.
for those positions.
Well, I mean, that's what you do, and so that's yeah. I mean, that's why those guys are as big as they do, is and gain all the weight that they do in their freshman years. They're finally on a regimented program with people that know what they're doing. They're eating 3 or 4, 5 meals a day, and that's when you start packing on weight. But you're lifting heavy to get big, and that wouldn't have worked for baseball.
And of course, there's no NIL deals going on back then. What do you think you would have brought as an athlete going to Notre Dame, being a pitcher, being the race pitcher over in South Bend? How much money do you think Pat Leahy would have brought in as an NIL pitcher for Notre Dame in today's day? If you had to take a gander or a guess.
You know, I would have absolutely no idea on what kind of valuation you could put on that. I don't. I still struggle with some of the things that are going on with the NIL. Um, I think sometimes it's a recipe for disaster for what they're going to put some of these kids through. I mean, you're talking 18, 19-year-old kids. They really don't have the support system around them. And you can't tell me that for those kids that are getting a couple $100,000 a year, that they're putting or holding back, 30, 35% of whatever they're bringing in for their taxes. And I do think you may get into a situation where some of them are going to end up in arrears with the IRS. And, it could be one of those things where they can never get out of that hole because they're never going to make that kind of money again, except for when they're playing.
And if
But
they get drafted high and go to the next
well,
level.
I mean, but I'm talking more about if somebody gets hurt, maybe they just didn't pan out. Maybe they peaked early. They don't get that opportunity to make big money to pay them back. But what's going to happen then?
Mm-hmm.
What's going to happen to those kids? Because it is a feeding frenzy. In fact, I was just kind of back by Notre Dame this past weekend. The business conference I had to attend in Chicago Wednesday through Friday. Then I took the South Shore down to campus and just hung out by myself. But in talking to people, like one specifically, one of my former roommates at Notre Dame is a professor there now in aeronautical engineering. And we were talking about this exact same thing. And that is, what is going to happen to some of those other kids who don't see the big picture, and the money comes in, the NIL money comes in, but they're not, who's making sure that they're paying the taxes so that they don't end up in a quandary with the IRS? It's it happens. You see it happen with even professional athletes. I guess they're kind of professional now, but you just see the stories of what goes on there and the amount of abuse and being taken advantage of. And I don't think it's very easy to do to college kids. When you're in pro level, it's a little different. You're a little older. You're talking 18, 19, 20-year-old kids with a lot of money. And you can't tell me that they're all getting great business advice. Some of them just don't come from that kind of background.
And do you think colleges, that's where they could set them up for success? Given your previous conversation with the professor, that they should set up like financial advisors or planners, as well as like accounts to help them understand moving forward, or should that be more of the athlete and the college player and the student moving forward? Should that be more on them to want to have that knowledge, or should not organizations, but the colleges, should the programs provide that for the student athlete?
I think that the schools should absolutely help in whatever way they can to make sure it's done right. I guess my example to him, him being an educator was, their taxes aren't that complex. They just need to make sure they're paid. Most every school has some kind of accounting program. Maybe this is part of it. They're getting live reps with real people and real money to at least help them make sure that the taxes are filed appropriately.
Set them up for success moving forward, whether it's in college into the next level. Just make sure they're ready to go the moment they step on campus.
Yeah, or the support that the support system for them is there if they want to access it. Because again, some of those, there are people in college playing college quarterback that will make more money playing college quarterback than they would as a rookie in the NFL. A lot more.
Yeah. There's that incentive to stay in college just to take snaps at Notre Dame and Alabama, even University of Washington, just because that money could be more than they would get as a late round, first round into a mid round pick.
And if it's not being done right, some kid gets paid $1 million to go play quarterback. He's going to have to hold out $350,000 or so. And who's making sure that happens?
With knowing that a quarterback could make that kind of money back in the 90s, when you're getting recruited in the 80s, 90s, would you switch the old throwing motion from and being a pitcher to a quarterback instead of an old lineman or a tight end? Would you switch positions and be like,
Yeah, I
I
was
got
a
some good
tight end.
size to be. I can sling it. I'm a pitcher. I can sling it.
Well,
Let's go for quarterback.
I could sling it. I mean, because of pitching, but I mean, I could probably throw a football. Oh, back when, probably 65, 70 yards. And I never really threw a quarter, and I never really did quarterback stuff, but just from pure arm strength, I could throw it as far as I needed to.
There you go. See, let's get a time machine. Let's bring the NIL with you back to Notre Dame. Let's make you a quarterback, Pat. What are we doing?
I know. I know. I look back at some of the athletes though that were there when I was playing at Notre Dame, and I mean they were some pretty fantastic athletes. So
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely a
you look
blue blood organization, or I would say organization. College, definitely a blue blood when it comes to college sports, especially football.
absolutely. I mean, it was, and I think back even then when they were still independent in basketball too. But they used to play with Digger Phelps was the coach, and they used to play anybody and everybody. IU, UCLA, Syracuse, Georgetown, Duke, all of that tournaments. And I remember seeing some really, really good college basketball games when I was there too.
Do you think for the football program, it's time to go into a conference? Should they stay independent how it always been? Or do you think it's time for them to take that next step to kind of groom them more during the season? Because they made the playoffs this last year, but it always seems analysts or people that aren't fans of Notre Dame always say like they should be in a conference, whether it's the ACC, the Big Ten, some conference to get them conference play ready for a playoff or a national championship push. Do you think that's something Notre Dame should explore? Because all their other sports, to my knowledge, are in a conference, but football. Or do they stick with the blue blood originality of just staying independent, but maybe make that schedule just a little tougher going forward?
The only reason I think that they should join a conference is if all of a sudden they really don't have anybody to play unless they are in a conference. But and that really will be dictated, if anything. I think that some of these super conferences really, in my opinion, they just need to instead of there being a power four, they need to have a power six. And they need to split the ACC and the Big Ten in half and have six power conferences. And then that way, depending on how you want to look at seedings and things like that, you can get first and second from each conference you're in. Then you get four at large. And now you have the Sweet 16 of football. But I think last year, you can't really tell me they got it right when all four of the first round buys got beat.
Yeah. I
You
think the
know,
only one that moved on was Texas, if I'm remembering the seeding correctly.
I think Texas got beat in the first round, but but that would be me. It's like all of a sudden you have six conferences, you're first or second place, you're automatically in. You still have your conference championship to determine the seedings, and then you have four at large, and now you have a Sweet 16 for college football. And in terms of shortening the season, just get rid of the bye weeks that are there.
Yeah. And do you think with those seedings, there should be home field advantage until you make like the national championship to give those one seed some incentive for being a one seed instead of neutral site games?
Absolutely, there needs to be a home field. I mean, that's part of it. That's part of it because it works both ways too. If you're a northern school and you're the visitor and you're going down south, you still have to adjust to the heat and humidity
Mm-hmm.
in January when you go down. And it's vice versa. If you're a southern school and you have to go play Penn State, that's part of it. It's no different than the NFL. When Miami has to go up and play Pittsburgh or Jacksonville has to go up and play Green Bay, it's just a part of it.
I like it. I think you should be on board of the college football committee to get this rolling, because that leads me to my next segment. You are the president of the Parker Youth Sports Foundation here in the Yakima Valley. For those that don't know what Parker Youth Sports is, can you give us a rundown of what Parker Youth Sports is and the impact it has on the community?
Sure. Parker Youth and Sports is a 21-year-old local nonprofit 501c3 that raises money to give back to youth, sports, and parks all throughout the Yakima Valley. Call it Ellensburg to Prosser. And in doing so, over the last 21 years, giving away a little bit over $1 million in grants and scholarships and things of that nature. And it's rewarding. It's fun. It's fun to see the funds that the public helps us raise and it going back to good causes. Because we've done everything from buying football helmets to putting in jungle gyms at elementary schools.
Nice. And a lot of stuff the Yakima does need to keep those kids active. You have a golf course coming up, or excuse me, a golf tournament coming up here at Apple Tree. Give us a little insight of what's going in on that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, it's a whole weekend. So Friday night they have called Legends Dinner. and then on Saturday is the golf tournament at Appletree, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun, and I encourage people. You can still join if you want, even if you don't necessarily have to get a foursome. Even if you want to be single, that's great. They'll just pair you up with some group and go out and have fun, and go all for a good cause and a lot of laughs.
Any big names we expect to be there this weekend with the weekend festivities going on?
Well, and Marjan is going to be honored. Three basketball players. So you have Katie Borton Burley, Christine Silvernail, and then Marjan. So you can arguably say the three of the four best basketball players really to ever come through the Yakima Valley, and the fourth one is already in the Parker Youth and Sports Hall, and that's Shag Williams. So yeah, Marjan will be is all indications, unless there was last minute cancellation, he'll be there. So that'll be fun. Honoring too the 2012 Davis All-State team. Pat Fitterer, coach, will be also a part of it. So yeah, it'll be a great weekend.
Where can we find information on this for those interested in joining the festivities for the tournament and everything going on at Appletree?
I just go to the website, Parker Youth and Sports Foundation website, and then anything and everything you need is there, including the ability to sign up.
Sounds great. I'll be definitely checking it out. Maybe get down there. We can meet one on one in person over instead of the virtual studio here.
Well, you have to come. Because
I'll bring the wife and kid. Alan Sells, yep.
Yeah, Alan will be there again, so it's mathematically impossible. The media team for the last 3 years running has finished dead last.
Man, that's not a good look.
So my running joke is it's possible to be the worst team there because Alan is golfing with Ryan and everybody else, and they have taken dead last for the last few years. So that award is already spoken for.
You plan that the year in advance. You already know media teams getting the participation trophy
when
they show up.
You can't get worse because they do give award for the worst score, and it's gone to the media team for the last 3 or 4 years. So I mean, it's impossible, mathematically impossible, that you could do worse than them.
For those listening and tuning in, that is the incentive to get in there and go check out the Park Youth Sports Foundation's golf tournament going on this weekend. Pat, thank you for your time. I believe that's everything. Do you have a final message for those listening, for young athletes here in the Valley? Like, what would be your message to those that would tune in and listen in?
Boy, I mean, that's kind of a pretty broad question, but just make sure you can't stress the importance of work and purposeful work. When you're doing reps, when you're doing things like that, you're far better off doing 10 reps, high quality reps at full intensity than you are doing 100 kind of haphazardly. Because those 10 at high intense, pretty soon it'll be 15, then it'll be 20, it'll be 25, then 30, then you can start that's when you really start seeing the development happen. Is the more you can really, isolate and have high quality reps and then that just translates into performance, in a game. I think that's one. And two is always keep believing in yourself. You have to believe in yourself. Because if you don't, it's a tough battle when you don't, but always believe in yourself, but don't be fake with it. The work that you put in, what your capabilities are, and know yourself and your strengths, and also identify where your weaknesses are. And once you do that, you have a pretty good idea of what somebody else, if you're competing against them, they're going to try to do to you.
I like it. I'm going to use that today myself moving forward too, because you can always work better and strive to be better in everything that you do, in all aspects of life.
And sometimes too is your practices when you practice is when you work on stuff. But once the bell rings or you cross the lines and it's game time, it's see ball, hit ball. And it doesn't matter if you're playing football, volleyball, basketball. You don't have time to start thinking and getting in your head about everything. It's just go react. Practice is when you work on things. The game is when you go out, you put it all aside and just go for it. And I think sometimes you can see kids thinking too much. And it doesn't help on game day. I mean, you can't be making a mental error after mental error, but if you're going to make a mistake, go do it going 110 miles an hour. Don't be making mistakes when you're caught in your own head and it affects your reaction.
I like it. I like it. Some great words there from Pat Leahy. Again, Pat, thank you for joining the Armchair Athlete Sports Talk here, broadcasting and telling around not just Yakima, the Northwest in general, but also just bringing up that focus here to Yakima, knowing that talent can come from all cities, shapes, and sizes, especially small town here, Yakima, in the middle, in the heart of Central Washington.
Nope. Thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you.
Have a good day.